Hey, how's it
Hey,
going,
I'm
guy?
back. It's looking nice and bright and sunny and crisp where you are, dude.
Thank you. I'm at a truck stop.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah,
Sexy.
yeah. We just
Where
got.
in the world are you? What state?
We just
What
got
country?
about an hour out of Munich, so we were actually planning to. I've got a handful of interviews now, which I'm doing, and we were planning to be at the venue by this time, which is 9 a.m. And
Oh,
yeah, we didn't quite make it, so I just asked if we could stop here, and I got a coffee and a what did I have? A pretzel, very tasty.
nice.
Oh, very
Cool.
Yeah.
German.
You didn't tell the rest of the band it was for us, though, did you? Because they'd be very disappointed.
Nah, they'd be stoked. Absolutely.
How is tour going for you over there? How's the cold winter of Europe treating you?
Well, actually, we've just been commenting on this is without a doubt the best weather we've had on a European tour. So
Without a
I
doubt.
reckon
Nice.
late April, early May. That's if you're going to go to Western Europe, that's the time to go. I'd say it's been so nice. Every day's been kind of like ranging from between 16 to 22,
Oh,
and
that's
sunny,
ideal. Yeah, great.
cloud in the sky this whole time. So it's been super nice.
It's been
Yeah, weather.
absolutely dog shit here on the East Coast, so
Oh no.
it's fucked. You know what? There's so many times when we talk to bands and we always touch on where they are in the world at the moment and what the weather's been like. And we do often get people like going, interview with one of my favorite bands, and these fuckers are talking about the weather.
Yeah.
But it is such an important part because it can completely fuck with your schedule. It can fuck with your mood. It's an
Oh yeah.
important part of the touring lifestyle.
Oh, it's we did it on the last headliner, I believe, but I mean, we try to avoid touring, say the States in February, March, because quite often, it's hugely detrimental. Obviously, if you're doing a six week tour and then all of a sudden you've got to pull out of a show because the road from one city to the next is like snowed in or whatever. So yeah, I mean that
Also,
bit.
being on a bus and not being able to escape, like that's not ideal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just changes the whole mood, the atmosphere of the tour. It's so much nicer when it's good weather and you can actually. I mean, this. I think we're on a bus this time, and it's super comfortable. But I think we've all been in agreement that this tour, more than any other European tour, is one where we've had enough time to kind of stop and smell the roses, so to speak. So we've been getting out and going to cool bars and cafes and restaurants and seeing the sights and sounds of all the beautiful cities here. It's
Yeah, I
been really
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys are like? Obviously, the band's getting bigger and bigger. Is that something now where you guys are conscious of that sort of stuff? And you're like, well, we've done the hard yards, we've paid our dues, we've done the rushing in a van to shitty venues and sleeping on floors. Let's try and give ourselves a little bit of a win here and enjoy some of the stuff we get to go past most of the time.
Really, the difference for us this tour, I think, compared to other tours, is that we've got Brady and Noah as drum and guitar techs. Typically, like on the US tour, we only had one stagehand slash tech. So when you've got that extra set of hands to just help build the rig and everything, it just frees up so much time in the middle of the day for everyone
Yeah,
and
for
makes
sure.
things run smoother and so much less stressful. So we've been good friends with Contra for quite a while. Noah, who plays drums for Contra, he's filled in for us on a European tour when J-Man wasn't able to make it, I think because he was attending a wedding or something. And then Brady the guitar player, has tour managed for us in the past. So
Oh, cool.
it was, we were stoked to, obviously, we love Contra and their music and everything, but, a big part of it was wanting to tour with our friends and wanting to tour with people that kind of like know the band and the ins and outs of everything works, and so that we'd have that extra pair of hands so that we could kind of, yeah, I guess spread out some of the responsibility and take a bit of a load off this tour.
Yeah, nice.
You're also, as Johnny said before, like you get to a stage where you've done enough rounds to know what works, what doesn't work, and what would benefit the tour like lifestyle more rather than like being like, oh yeah, I guess we'll get that guy. Now we want someone that we want to spend time with. We want to be able to like hang as well as work because Otherwise, you get sick of people real quick.
This is why we don't get invited on tours.
I don't want to be with you now, let alone on a tour.
Yeah, it's always just comes down to, as boring as it sounds, like it really, like obviously we would take as much as we possibly could in terms of road crew and everything, but it always just comes down to like what space there is in the budget.
Yeah.
And given that like Condra were going to be playing the tour anyway, it sort of frees up a bit of space there, which allows for a little bit of extra comfort. But yeah, I'd like to say that we, when we're building these tours, it's like always the dream and exactly, like a dream lineup, a dream crew or whatever. But like a lot of the time, the reality is it's just like, it depends on what we can afford. I'd have a personal masseuse on tour if we could afford it.
Nick isn't volunteering to help out on that one, or?
I did actually. Well, there you go. Brady, our guitar tech from Condra, he gave me a massage right before the show about 3 or 4 days ago, and that's much
nice.
Needed.
Yeah, I love that.
After one flight,
These guys are getting massive shout outs here. Everyone's going to be like, I need to.
Yeah, Condra, good dudes. We love them. Hey, talk to us. Do you feel like you've played in other bands, you had experience on the road? What's it like, and is it something you have to consider of having Alex in close proximity to you guys? Like, I know she's one of the boys, she's the best, but just having a female presence around, do you notice bands that you tour with acting differently or having to be a bit more well-behaved because of that?
It's quite difficult to comment on the behavior of other bands, I suppose, because that's all we've ever known, so we would never see them without them behaving in that way, if that makes sense. I don't really notice any difference in the way that people act when she's there and when she's not. Obviously, there is extenuating circumstances and things we have to make exceptions for. Like, for example, coming into this tour, because we fly with so much gear, it's very expensive to bring, 20 hard cases or whatever it is. So we've got like a bunch extra baggage allowance that we buy, and then anything above that weight or that number of bags is, can be up to thousands of dollars more, basically. And so we all kind of agreed amongst one another that we were all just going to not take, we were only going to take carry-on as our personal items, so no check-in luggage for everyone. And, we said to Alex, like, we want to make an exception for you, kind of thing, because, you've got, I don't know, girls just have extra stuff to bring. There's like makeup or whatever.
Girls are less gross. You can say it.
Yeah, exactly. And, Alex just completely, combated that. She just wouldn't do it. She wanted to rough it with everyone else and bring the exact same amount of stuff. She's really headstrong, and I think she's quite proud in that sense, that she's just, that she doesn't want there to be any exception to the rules. Like if we're all just bringing like a 7 kilo carry on or whatever, she wants to be part of that as well and not feel like there is any sort of difference. So
it's such a cool thing for you guys to consider all that stuff, but also so cool for her to be like, we're a band, it's a one in all in sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Now talk to me about prepping for 7 kilos of luggage, because I can't do that for a 2-day trip.
Nathan's got 7 kilos of hair product.
I woke up like this.
We've got, this tour, I'm literally bringing 3 shirts, 3 pants, like 10 pairs of underpants, 10 pairs of socks, my iPad, and that's it. So
damn, that's a light pack.
That boggles my mind.
Well, the idea is that you do a little bit of shopping when you're here.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm probably going to do some, shop for some more clothes, more shoes or something like that, with the idea that I'll like FedEx a bunch of stuff home halfway through the tour or something. I'm not sure. This is lighter than this is my first time going with just a 7 kilo carry-on. And I'm surprised at how well it's going, actually. The main thing is you just need to stay on top of your laundry.
Yeah.
and it can be difficult because sometimes the nearest laundromat is like 5 kilometers from the venue, and it's like you've either got to get over there or whatever, and it's a whole ordeal. Meanwhile, you got to time it around sound check and um, everything else that you've got to do throughout the day, or the whatever odd jobs you've got, for Alex or Nick, or they've got to build the equipment before they do the sound checks. So thankfully, I don't really have any equipment to build, so sometimes I can sneak off. I get an hour or so of free time every day.
Does that make you the laundry lady? You have to look after everyone else's?
I do. I've never done a laundry trip for someone else, or at least not on this tour, I don't think. But I do. Sometimes they'll request if I'm going to the store or whatever. I'll just pick up some snacks for everyone.
I was going to say, after some of the stories you've told us about J-Man, I'm not sure I'd want to do his laundry either.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. No.
You need those like mesh laundry bags that for delicates. Yeah. Everything's delicate there.
It's those toxic waste bags.
Yeah.
Hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long do you have after getting home before embarking on the Oz Regional?
About 2.5 weeks, I want to say, which is about. I haven't actually looked if that's exactly accurate, but that's what people have been telling me. I haven't actually looked at the calendar really, but it's about what we had between the US tour and this one as well. So it's been. Well, US was 6.5 weeks, then 2.5 weeks off. Then this is 4 weeks, then 2.5 weeks off, and then I think the Australian tour is just under 4 weeks as well. So yeah,
that's a pretty long run for Australia as well.
It is, yeah. This is our first regional tour in quite a while, and I'd say it's definitely our longest ever regional tour. I remember when we put out Neverbloom, like touring Australia used to be so different back then that like every Australian tour was a regional tour. That's just how tours back then. So we used to, ride in a van and get to play all these cool towns. And it's been sad for me, I think, that I guess the state of touring has changed, and it's quite that you've kind of specifically got to book a regional tour if you want to play some of the B and C markets in the country, whereas all the tours just used to do that.
Yeah.
So I missed that a little bit because we used to just have the coolest experiences, driving in a van. Especially when you're in a van, you can look out the window and
you know what that is. That's not touring just changing. That's also you guys getting infinitely more popular. Yeah. Like you can't play those C grade shows anymore because there's too much of a demand.
Yeah. I guess 9 times out of 10 it just makes the most sense for us to play the capital cities. It's just the most like cost effective way to get around the country. But I've really missed the regional touring aspect, and I think we elected to do this tour. This was like our suggestion to management and booking and all that sort of stuff. Was I think we were kind of craving doing a tour like this, and of all the we just 6.5 weeks in the States, 4 weeks here. The Australian regional tour I think is the one that I'm looking forward to the most, just because there's a nostalgic quality about it of remembering what touring used to be like back in the day. It's also just a lot of like towns that I've never played before on this run, and I don't know. I just think it's going to be like a road trip with the homies. I'm excited.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's like also like, as you know, when you're doing places like Europe, UK, America, towns are so much closer together. Every town is a big town, and you can get from one to the next in sometimes as little as a couple of hours and play another big show. It's totally different in Australia because you've got that. You've got Brisbane, maybe Newcastle, Sydney, maybe Canberra, and then all the way down to Melbourne. Adelaide's fucking super far away. Perth is even further away. How important is it do you reckon, for Aussie bands to get back out to these regional areas as they continue to grow, and try and give people who wouldn't, obviously, like it's fucking hard to get all the way from South Australia to Melbourne to watch an hour set from a band, and it's not cheap. How important is that for bands to remember and to make sure they sort of do this sort of tour?
Well, the thing is that I think a lot of people don't realize is that even at a inner city show, like if we played, the Forum in Melbourne or something like that, a good portion, like 20% of the audience will often be from the regional communities outside of Melbourne. So they always make the trip for us. I don't see any reason why we should not be returning the favor in that sense. And I think
a great perspective.
He's very kind.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. It's also, I think, it's really healthy for your band. If you're playing in a band, I think it's really healthy for your band to play these regional communities, because when you do play them, I find, the audiences can be more appreciative, I think, and then they are going to be more inclined to make those trips when you do play the capital cities and stuff like that. So
it's also the only way that the heavy music scene continues to grow in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very rare for metal bands to play regional tours these days. I'm glad to see. I mean, I think it was this year, or within the space of the year, I think there's been, what was there? Alpha Wolf and Polaris and us, I'm pretty sure, have all done regional tours.
Yeah, I think Red Hook and Stand Atlantic did too as well.
Yeah, there you go. So it's becoming a little bit more bands starting to cotton onto it, and I think it's super important that we're bringing this very special, I think, sort of music to to communities that wouldn't usually have the luxury of being able to be a massive metalcore fan or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now, you said before about, like, the last time you probably did it was off Neverbloom, which is a hot minute ago. You've released a hefty amount of music since then. How do you go about putting together the set list for a regional tour versus like a European headline, or you just kind of keep with, we know what works for us, this is the stuff we're doing?
Especially after just dropping an album as well.
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, we're probably going to be playing most of the same songs that we've been playing on these headliners. I think, the biggest difference for us is that, we're very cognizant of the fact that, a lot of the venues, like I would say 90% of the venues on this tour are pubs.
Sure.
So that's going to be a vibe. I think we're really excited for that aspect of it. But, it's going to be a little bit more of a stripped back performance in terms of the production that we're able to bring on stage, the lighting and all that sort of stuff. So I think for us, it's going to be more about, having a more like sort of intimate performance with the crowd. And it's kind of back to grassroots in a way, which I'm super excited for. Because it's been a while we've toured Australia with, such a stripped back lighting rig and stuff.
Yeah. You've also had like quite a few shows under your belt now to play the songs off the latest album. How have they all been going down live? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, this will be our first time playing a lot of the newer music, I suppose, in these towns. So, always excited. I mean, for us, it's like, it doesn't matter where we're playing it. Well, obviously, it's more exciting for us to play newer stuff. That's just true for every band, I think, because, it's fresher for you, and you end up playing songs, hundreds and hundreds of times over. But for sure, I mean, we're excited to be playing the newer stuff in places we've never played it before. We're always about new experiences. It's a big part of this band's culture, I think.
Has there been any unexpected responses to newer stuff? Like, has there been a song there that has like hit off more than you expected live, or has it gone kind of the way you anticipated?
Well,
because we last spoke to you just as the album was about to release. We talked about the album in full, but it hadn't been out with the public yet. So what's the response been to that? I
think it's kind of tough. You never really know how a live song is going to go until you've played it. I think almost like hundreds of times, or like 50 times or something like that, because it does really take that long to kind of get warmed into it. And you go, oh, okay, this song's like a really good one for this type of crowd interaction, but you don't actually know figure that stuff out until you're in the room with the people and seeing how they're reacting and kind of vibing off that. And then you kind of work out what the energy of each song is and what, you know, asking the crowd to do or whatever. You know, that's a big part of performing a song, I think. And so, like, we've kind of found our feet with Man of God, which I'm really relieved about, because I think we always anticipated that it was going to be a good live song. But it just took us quite a while to get there, and now it's becoming, I think, one of our favorite songs to play. Similar, Oscillators, very similar in that sense, I think, where it's like, all right, this is this song and it's got this kind of rappy verses. We've never done anything like that, so it's about trying to figure out, like, how does that translate to a live setting? Like, what are we supposed to do in a song, you know? I think Oscillator and Man of God have been standouts that have really jumped up a peg in my book as, you know, really, really standout live songs. Ghost of Me and Doom Switch have always been really good, and I'm now that we've done those, I'm really excited to try and bring some other new songs from the album into the set list. Like, I think Tether is a song that would translate really well live and be just a nice, fun, jumpy vibe. I think, you know, Small Town Syndrome could be fun, but you don't know until you play those songs, you know. Yeah. So,
and the other thing is that, like, the one thing that I've picked up from talking to so many bands now is that it's really weird that certain vibes of certain songs seem to resonate differently in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some audiences, you'll get there and it's like, all right, this is a push mosh crowd and everyone's just pushing each other around, and there's no. Then you tell them to clap and they're like, no,
I'm too busy pushing, man.
And then other audiences are very much, you know, they'll do the hands up, they'll do the clap, that sort of thing. But then, you know, they're maybe a bit reluctant to start a mosh pit or something like that. So
sure.
It is super. There's some audiences, like when we played last time we played Japan. One thing that I found very noteworthy was in the gaps between the songs when you're talking to the crowd, it's completely dead silent.
I've heard this before.
It's like, you could drop a pin and hear it, sort of thing. It's absolutely crazy. I remember I actually got a little bit thrown off. I was like, whoa, it's really...
It's so respectful.
It's like, it's the most respectful thing they can do, but it's also like very awkward.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are listening to every word I'm saying.
Yeah. Normally this doesn't feel so important.
How do you go now as well, like with things like the language barrier and stuff like that? Have you picked up enough by going so many places that you feel that you can kind of communicate on a little bit better level than you used to be able to? Or do you still just sort of wing it and try and simplify your English for them?
You know, I do tend to speak a little bit slower if I think there is going to be a little bit of a language barrier, but I think speaking slower when you're talking to a crowd is just good, full stop, because, you know, you're talking into a microphone, something that's probably covered in sweat, it's muffled, you know, people often can't hear what you're saying very well anyway. So I think that's just good practice, full stop. So these days it doesn't really affect what I'm saying. If anything, it's a little bit of it feels like a little bit of a weight off the shoulders, because, you know, if they're not understanding everything you're saying, then, you know, you can mess up a little bit, and that's fine. So whatever you say with conviction.
He's been throwing more Australian euphemism in there and being like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Everyone's always trying to get me to talk more Aussie. I guess this regional tour will be a good opportunity for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you find yourself, Johnny can teach you a thing or two about this. Johnny does a really good unintentional, when he's around like blokes, Aussie blokes, Johnny changes into an Aussie bloke, and he's like, he swears more, it's all rough and fucking, and
I go back into tradie mode.
I notice it so easily. Do you notice that happening at all, depending on the crowd, or are you more of a what you see is what you get type person?
I mean, I think secretly, like, every Aussie really likes talking like that, saying fucking this and fucking that every second. It sort of feels like the veil has been lifted sort of thing. You know, you you can lower your guard kind of thing when you're talking more casually like that, and don't have to speak with such eloquence, I suppose. So you know, I usually, you know, if I'm given an opportunity to thicken up the Aussie accent, I tend to leave it there.
The regional tour is the perfect place to do it, mate.
Hell yeah,
How you going, you bloody bogans?
yeah, exactly.
Now, quickly, let's talk about the lineup for the regional tour as well. All Aussie, which is a cool thing. You know, it could be a great opportunity for an international band to do that many shows, but I think it's really cool that you guys have got a stacked Aussie lineup. How much of a hand did you guys have in picking all of these bands?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of the bands were suggested by us to management with no influence, external influence kind of thing. A Gloom in the Corner is a band that I've been wanting to tour with for ages, particularly because you know they're lyrically they're like kind of a concept band, and they've got this whole storyline, this arc that runs through all their music video lyrics and everything. And you know we're akin in that way. Like if you're comparing what Gloom in the Corner do to like you know Never Bloom or Old Soul, some of our older stuff when there was like a bit of a storyline and a concept that we would follow for those albums. So you know that aspect of it is really cool. As well as I just you know I've met a couple of the guys in Gloom. I follow you know Mikey on Instagram and always see just snippets of their live videos, and they just look like an amazing live band. Like so much energy. Yeah. I think he's got a very unique stage presence as well, and so I've been super excited to tour with those guys. Justice for the Damned for me are just like a sick band. I mean, they've been you know doing quite well for quite a long period of time. I'm not sure if they've like I haven't seen them on a lineup in a couple of months. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention.
No, I was thinking the same thing actually.
Yeah,
yeah. And
there was a while where you saw them everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like they're a band, especially for you know fans of music that like it quite heavy. They're one of the next bands that I reckon are deserving of that next step.
Well, I think for me, I think that was a big part of choosing it because I was thinking, geez, yeah, I haven't seen Justice on a flyer anymore, but for me, they still feel like a very household name within the sort of like Australian heavy mosh metal community. And I think that was kind of like a moment, an epiphany, I suppose. It's like, yeah, they really are. They have a shelf life, you know what I mean? And I think they're a big band. I've met, you know, the majority of the members in them and they're all really sweet. So yeah, just on a friendship level as well. Very excited to tour with this guys.
Oh, we love a friendship tour. That's the best kind of tour.
Yeah.
Just friends hanging out and speaking rough.
I love him very much, but enjoy 4 weeks with Paul from Gloom. He is a fantastic character.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big fans. So, well, dude, we're going to let you go and enjoy a bit of Chris Sunshine and have a few more chats with a few more people while you're at that truck stop. But we appreciate you stopping to hang out with us. Apologies to the band for making them not get to the venue on time.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
No worries. You're always welcome, and we'll see you at our local in a few weeks.
Hey, see you there.
Yeah.
See you, bro.
See you, brother.